The Ohio State Pro Day is here. This is a huge step in the pre-draft process. There will be 11 Buckeyes that will be participating in the Ohio State Pro Day. What can we expect during this event, and how can the four individuals that did not get an invite to the NFL Combine impress the people that will be watching them today? All that and more right here on Locked on Buckeyes.
You are Locked on Buckeyes, your daily podcast on the Ohio State Buckeyes. Part of the Locked on Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, Buckeye fans? Welcome back to another episode of Locked on Buckeyes, part of Locked on Podcast Network. I'm your host, Jay Stevens, also the host of the Jay Stevens Podcast. It is Wednesday, March 23rd in the year 2022, and I would like to thank you for making Locked on Buckeyes their first to listen of every single day. The Ohio State Pro Day is always a huge event. Yes, the NFL Combine gets the national attention at the end of February, going into the first few days of March, but the Pro Day is still big. You want to get teams to come to Columbus, team representatives, you get coaches, you'll get GMs that are coming to watch different Ohio State players. Some that were at the Combine, some that were not at the Combine. They'll work out, they'll get interviewed, they'll talk to the teams, talk to the coaches, and they'll be able to impress them once again. And this is just another step in the pre-draft process. Today in the Woody at 11 a.m., wrong time of day, 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, there will be 11 Buckeyes that will be there working out at the Ohio State Pro Day. Running back Master Teague, wide receivers Chris Booker, Chris Olave, and Garrett Wilson. Offensive linemen Thayer Munford and Nicholas Petit-Frere. Tight end Jeremy Ruckert. Defensive end Tyreek Smith. Defensive tackles, plural, Haskell Garrett and Antoine Jackson. And then cornerback Demario McCall. All of these individuals will have the opportunity to be able to run their 40, do different drills. The receivers and tight ends will be able to catch the ball out of the backfield. Ruckert at the end of the line. Master Teague will get in that pass-catching drill as well. And so this is amazing. This is a huge day for everybody involved. I am looking forward to the Pro Day. It will not be broadcast on ESPN or the NFL Network. You have to be tapped into places like Locked on Buckeyes and different outlets and media outlets covering Ohio State football to be able to get all the information you need about what's going on at the Pro Day. Yes, we've already seen not Haskell Garrett. He did run a 4.3. That will never happen, at least not right now. Chris Olave, there you go, and Garrett Wilson. They already ran sub 4.4 40s at the Combine, had a huge days. Master Teague is an individual that was not there, got quite a bit of playing time as a guy who was not a consistent starter at Ohio State during that time period. But this is the time for players like Teague, players like Olave, players like Wilson to be able to once again show we are preparing, we're working for this day. We have been looking forward to this day for a very long time. And now that it's here, we're not going to let this opportunity slip out of our hands. Now, I will say this. This does not eliminate the game film and the tape that the players have put in front of these executives and coaches over the past 3 to 4 years, sometimes 5 if they have been there for longer than 5 years. The tape does not exclude anything. However, you can show in these drills and at this time you've been working. They're going to see your preparation. They're going to see how do you look, what's your physique like, have you gained weight between now and the Combine, have you lost weight between now and the Combine, are you faster between now and the Combine? There's so many different things that they can show. A lot of the things that the people will look at and take away from this event, it is not going to be something where nothing drastic is going to happen. Like I don't for example, I don't see any way that a player is going to jump from being a 4th round pick, an early day 3 pick, to being an end of the 1st round pick due to a pro day. That's not going to happen. It'd be nice. It'd be amazing. It would also mean that there would be a lot of guys that either dropped out of the draft, which hopefully doesn't happen, or a lot of guys got injured. Another thing that I hope does not happen. But I don't see anybody, which is unrealistic to even think that would happen, that where they're going to boost their draft stock by a few rounds by simply what they do and how they perform at their pro day. However, one thing you can look at in this day and say, how do they present themselves? How are they walking and approaching and talking to these individuals that are representing the NFL teams? Do they take this day lightly? Are they not prepared for the moment? Do they seem shocked when they are asked about certain performances that they've had at Ohio State? Do they seem shocked when asked about, well, why did you lost your spot or you were not a consistent starter? How did you react to that? How do you think you fit into our team? Do you even know who our quarterback is? An Urban Meyer thing here? Who is that number 99 guy on the Rams? Still baffled by some of the things that happened with Urban Meyer there in Jacksonville, some of the reports that are coming out. But do you know anything about our team? Do you know who the head coach is? Yes, these things might be silly. They might be elementary. But these people want to know a little bit about you. And by you being who you are and by you showing them that you're prepared for the day, they're going to learn a whole lot more about you and think about, well, we didn't think about drafting this guy before 6th round, 7th round. We had a few guys that were kind of on our radar, but this guy really impressed me. Yeah, he might be a project. We might be able to give him a draft, get him in the draft instead of waiting until the undrafted free agent market, which we can lose out on him really, really quickly. So there's a lot of things that go into the pro day. But this is a big day for everybody involved. And I can't wait to see how guys like Wilson, how guys like Olave, how a guy like Master Teague, how somebody like DeMario McCall perform at the Ohio State Pro Day today in the Woody. I'm looking forward to it, and I'm sure you will be as well. All right, I recently woke up, I think it was the other day, yesterday morning, and I got an email. And in the email, something that happens once a year, FeedSpot, it's a blog that, yes, FeedSpot. When I first got the email last year, I was like, wait, this is really a blog talking about sports, but that's what it is. They rank the top Ohio State football podcast every single year. My first time hosting this podcast where FeedSpot was able to use me as a host to be able to do what I do as the host to rank where we are as a podcast. Last year we were number 11, and when it came to all the Ohio State football podcasts or Buckeyes podcasts, football, basketball, everything involved. This year we're number 3. That's a testament to you. I want to thank you for your attentiveness, for helping the podcast grow, not just only on the audio space, but also on the YouTube space as well. The only 2 podcasts, Ohio State football podcast, according to FeedSpot, that are better than Locked On Buckeyes. Number 2 is Buck Nuts Morning 5. And then number 1 is Buckeye Talk from Cleveland.com. Buck Nuts Morning 5 is from Buck Nuts, 24/7 sports site covering Ohio State football and basketball. I want to say thank you for that. This is not a testament to me. I'm the host. It's you that make this show grow, you that make this show go. And I want to say thank you for the growth and thank you for allowing other people to see that this is the place to be, to get everything you need to know about your Ohio State football, basketball, and anything else going on with the Buckeyes right here at Locked On Buckeyes. So during the pro day, there are a few things to expect. I've been able to go to one. It was a family thing. My brother was at a pro day a few years ago, and I'll be able to talk about that here in the final segment because he's going to fall into the category of the other gentleman we'll close the show with. But with knowing that Garrett Wilson, Chris Olave, Thayer Munford, Nicholas Petit-Frere, Jeremy Ruckert, Tyreek Smith, Haskell Garrett, those guys were at the combine. Those guys competed at the combine. They've been talking to NFL teams. They were interviewed at the combine. So knowing that all of that went on, this is still a big day for them, but this is also just as big, if not bigger, for guys like Chris Booker, who was primarily a special teamer, not a guy that was in the rotation. Really, I don't think he really had over 10 catches while at Ohio State. And you also have Master Teague, DeMario McCall, and Antoine Jackson. This is something that for all of these gentlemen, not just the guys at the combine, but also for the guys that were not there, they'll be able to go through different drills, some pass catching drills. I don't believe there'll be a gauntlet type thing. The guys that'll be throwing the football to Wilson, Olave, Teague, Booker, Ruckert will be CJ Stroud and Cardell Jones. Cardale Jones. Cardale Jones had to do a little reenacting of Gus Johnson and when he was calling the Big Ten championship game in, I think, 2014 as his during his opening remarks, that's how he called and said Cardale Jones's name. And so those are the guys that'll be there. Jones and Stroud, I'm excited to see them throw, but with only two quarterbacks, you won't have the gauntlet type drill that you see at the NFL Combine. But you're still going to have a time for Wilson, Olave, Teague, and Rucker to showcase, and Booker to showcase their skill set, showcase what they can do in the pass-catching variety. You're also going to have guys like Tyreek Smith and Haskell Garrett and Antoine Jackson, Mumford and Nicholas Petit-Frere. They're not going to have pads on. So they're going to go through drills, but a lot of this, once again, it's about preparation. How are you in your get-off? Are you quick off the line? How are your first two steps? How is your hand placement? Do you drive? Are your shoulders and your hips too high? How is your head? Are you going to be attacking the defender in a way that you could get injured? Yes, this is a drill. It does not eliminate anything that happened on tape while they are playing football at Ohio State, either in the shoe or wherever else they play the games while being a Buckeye football player. There will be drills, there'll be verticals, there'll be broad jumps, there'll be 40s. But I think a lot of these guys, executives, they're excited for the one-on-one time. Now, granted, I believe all these players have already talked to NFL teams, and they already have got a good feel about where they might go, if they're going to be a late draft pick, first-round draft pick, if they're going to be someone that is going to be more of a second, third, fourth round, fifth-round draft pick, depending on where they landed. They already have a good feel about where they're going to go in the draft. Of course, draft day trades between now and then. Teams like the Colts and the Falcons and the Browns are trading quarterbacks and moving pieces. So a lot of draft picks, Commanders, that's still so weird to say, are moving draft picks around. So the draft order is not solidified because even on draft day, it's not solidified because there's going to be movement at that time. But you're still going to be able to see and have a good feel about where you will go once you are drafted. Or if you're not going to be drafted, maybe the undrafted free agent market is where you will go. But I always look at the interview portion, maybe because I'm a podcaster, I'm a talking head, and the interview portion is something that I think is drastically important for this day. Yeah, drills are important as well for your preparation, but they got game film. Like, if they don't have a pro day, if they don't have a combine, these executives aren't losing anything. They already know basically everything that they need to know. This is just an added process that somebody said, hey, how about we have a day there at your school where you can work out? Okay, great. How about we have a day in Indianapolis or wherever it's going to be where you can work out with 300 other players? Okay, great. Somebody said that, but I believe these interviews are going to be huge because I think somebody's going to want to learn more about Chris Booker or DeMario McCall, or Antoine Jackson, a Haskell Garrett, a Tyreek Smith, a Master Teague, even the other guys that are more prominent starters at Ohio State. I believe that these players and these team reps are going to want to learn more about the mentals of a player. This is all about the mentals, your preparation, how you approach people. Are you smiling? Do you seem excited to be there? How is your handshake? How is your eye contact? All of the little things that sometimes we take for granted when talking to people every single day, these are things that people are going to be looking at. I remember when I had a job interview, I think the last true job interview that I had where I didn't know that I was going to get the job immediately. Yes, I do know I was going to get jobs at some point immediately before the interview. But I believe the last time was, let me think. It was 2020. February 2020 was when I had an interview for a job. And I know for a fact, I'm a person, I know I don't bomb interviews. This is not trying to puff up my head. But your boy does not bomb interviews, not at all. And so I knew going into the interview, I had to dress a certain way. I had to approach a certain way. Wanted to make sure your boy had a haircut because the hair cannot be wacky. The beard cannot be crazy. Things needed to be A-okay in my approach and my appearance. But in my approach, I knew I had to shake the hand properly, needed to look at the person that was interviewing me in the eye. I knew I needed to talk clearly and slowly and not stutter over words or try not to stutter over words. These are all things that I am looking at while in an interview. I always try to approach things like I want to be at my best. I don't want there to be any reason or any way they can look at me and how I approach them, how I am talking to them, and they say, oh, no, he failed. Why? Because he didn't look me in the eye. Out of all things, he didn't look me in the eye. And so therefore, because he didn't I didn't look him in the eye, I didn't shake his hand properly, I didn't seem like I was really into what they were providing to me. They're going to turn me down. I could be a great candidate. But that first impression, that time that you're going to be there and they know you need to be prepared for a big day, that's going to be huge. I remember I've had interviews. Remember one time I got off work on a Tuesday. I don't know the exact day. I drove 2.5 hours north to go to an interview that I basically knew I already had in the bag. But for just to go through the process, I drove 2 hours. Now, granted, they said, Jay, we know you're getting off of work. You don't have to dress up. You don't have to wear the suit, the tie, all that stuff. You don't even really have to change your clothes because you're going to the interview. We know where you're coming from. I still change clothes. I literally stopped at a rest stop on the way there and changed clothes. Had stopped at the rest stop, changed clothes, looked professional, put some cologne on, brushed my hair. My beard was not like it is now if you're watching on YouTube. And so right now it's a good length. Need to get to a barbershop because your boy's looking kind of rough. But I went there for the interview and I knew, even though they said I don't have to change my clothes, I wanted to look presentable. Now, granted, these athletes, they're not going to be going and wearing a suit or wearing a business casual attire. But however, they will be there. And these team reps will be looking at their physique because I guarantee you, some of these skinnier guys are going to be taking their shirts off. And if you look a little hefty, if your weight's a little up from where you were at the combine or the last time you measured in height and weight, they are going to notice that. A few things to expect at the combine, just from over all of them. This is a great time, a great day for everybody involved. And I can't wait to see how Olave, Wilson, McCall, Teague, and everybody else involved performs during this event. So for the 4 guys that were not invited to the combine, Master Teague, Antoine Jackson, DeMario McCall, and Chris Booker, what can we expect? Will they get drafted? Will they be special teamers? Will they go on to play in the Canadian Football League or in the Arena Football League or the numerous levels that are indoor football league that are still in America? You can still get paid. Will they go overseas to, say, a country in Europe or a country in Asia? We just don't know. But all of thinking about them, I think the best example I have is my own family, my personal brother. Of course, he's my brother. Personal, duh. I don't know what's going through my mind today. But my brother played college football. Started off playing at Thomas More, Division II football level, Division II football team. And then after his freshman season, he ended up transferring to Butler University. And he knew when he transferred, he was going to have to sit out a year. He already knew that. He was fine with it. He wanted to be closer to home. He wanted to play football with the guy that he played football with when he was in high school. So he knew all the ins and outs. He knew all the logistics. He knew that he was going to have to miss a year of football, and he was fine with that. Played football at Butler, and he loved it. Loved every second of it. His last year they played. Now, Butler is the FCS level, old school D1 AA. So my brother did transfer up as well. My brother, his final year at Butler, they made the FCS playoffs. They ended up playing Middle Tennessee State in the first round of the playoffs. They lost. They would have played Eastern Illinois, and they would have played a now NFL quarterback. I forget exactly what his name was. Always escapes me. But my brother was talking about even leading up to the Middle Tennessee State game that, hey, man, if we win this game, we're going to play a guy that's probably going to go to the NFL. He's probably going to torch us because our defense is not that good. My brother played defensive end. He was good. He was a standout on the team, but that secondary, baby, they were soft. But my brother wanted to go to the NFL. He knew that he was behind the 8 ball, one, not just because he was at the FCS level, but because he was at Butler, the Pioneer Football League, and he knew that he was going to have to impress. Now, Butler does not have a pro day. Their football program does not have a day. They normally don't have guys that go to the NFL, so they don't have a pro day. So my brother got invited to the Ball State University Pro Day in Muncie, Indiana. I think he could have got invited to Indiana University IU for their pro day. He may have had some connections there, but he went to Ball State University, their pro day. I remember watching him run his 40. I remember watching him do a few different drills. Remember watching him and how he interacted with. I know for a fact it was not a Steelers, a representative from the Texans. All 32 teams, I do not believe, were there. They did not let us go into the field to watch him there, to be able to sit down and watch him in the field. I was there with my parents. We literally stood up. We stood the entire time. There was an upper level where you could look down on the field to see the practice or the workout, and that's what we did there. But my brother remembers that day and that experience, and him knowing I don't have the opportunity that other players had that were at the D1 level. Not even just Power 5 level, but even the lower level, Group of 5 level. I don't have the same access they do. So I have to show up and show out. He was one of the better performers there at that time. He also got an invite by the Indianapolis Colts. They ended up bringing in different guys during the pre-draft process that were local Indianapolis or Central Indiana athletes, football players that might go to the NFL. My brother was also someone 6'1". Weight was coming down. He played defensive end in college, but he did not have the speed. He did not have the ability. To be a defensive end in the NFL. Wasn't the speed there. He would have to bump out to outside linebacker. Did a lot of outside linebacker drills in preparation for the pro day and Colts workout. But he knew he was behind the 8 ball. One, he didn't get to do a pro day at his own school. Two, he didn't have the same opportunity, didn't play the same type of opponents that other guys did that were going to be in the NFL draft, that were draft eligible. So he had to do everything he could to be able to be that kind of guy that when these coaches saw him, they said, ooh, we know we got to work with him, but that's the guy we want on our team. It's unfortunate my brother did not get drafted the draft day. All 3 days of the draft, primarily day 3, he was locked in, glued into the television. He had some people that were helping him, representing him and things like that. Day 3, I remember him sitting on the couch and just watching the draft, pick after pick after pick. He never watches the draft. That's my thing. But he knew this was possibly his opportunity to be able to fulfill a dream. Every single workout, that pro day, the Colts pro day, you want to call it, he knew he had to show out, and he did those things as well. But sometimes things don't work out. He did ultimately go on to play football overseas in Australia for 1 year, played in the Indoor Football League. Actually, the Iowa Barnstormers, the same team that Kurt Warner played for before going to the NFL. My brother played for that same team. So he still had an opportunity to be able to play after college, but it was never in the National Football League. And this is the same thing for guys like Chris Booker, Master Teague, DeMario McCall, and Antoine Jackson. No combine invite, no problem. Show up and show out. Maybe your dream of playing in the National Football League does not come true right now at this time. But there's always a chance for you to play football after the collegiate level. It may be Arena Football League. It may be the Indoor Football League. It might be the Canadian Football League. It might be football overseas in a country, but you have the opportunity to be able to do something possibly after playing at Ohio State. You know, it might not be in the NFL. You might have to take a different track, a different road to get there. It might happen, but you need to take this serious. You take this serious, you show you improve. You show that even though DeMario McCall has only played defensive back for 1 year at Ohio State, and it wasn't very much playing time on the field, your steps are good, your hips are good, your feet are good, your hand placement is good, your head, your shoulders, the way you turn, the timing of the timing that you flip your hips when backpedaling, all of this, these are things that these guys can do, show up and show out, because you never know. They have an opportunity my brother did not have. My brother basically knew his best shot was to be an undrafted free agent. Didn't happen. These guys know they'll probably have a good shot to be an undrafted free agent. My brother knew it was a possible long shot, but it could happen. These guys know being an undrafted free agent is likely for them. But they got to take this serious. And I think they will. Guys, it's a fun day. A little pro day actually coming up today. Hope you're excited. You're tapped in, tuned in. You're locked in to the Locked On Buckeyes podcast every single day. Make sure you subscribe to Locked On Buckeyes, not only on YouTube, but also on the podcast listening app of your choosing. It's free and available wherever you get your fine podcast. You could follow me on Twitter at jstevens07. You can also send all of your emails to jstevens317 at gmail.com. One more thing for the podcast listeners. If you're an Apple Podcast listener or if you're listening to us on Spotify, leave a 5-star review. Yes, a 5-star review. Leave us a review. Apple Podcast listeners, leave us a 5-star rating, and then leave us a review. And make sure to let people know why this is the place to be to get all the news on the Ohio State Buckeyes football and basketball teams. Thank you for making Locked On Buckeyes your first to listen every day. Now make the second listen of every day the Locked On NFL Draft. Ryan Tracy and former NFL defensive back Eric Crocker bring the NFL Draft to life every day with insight and analysis on the college football prospects and that you love, and even the NFL front offices. The Locked On NFL Draft podcast, just like the Locked On Buckeyes podcast, they are both free and available wherever you get your fine podcast.